Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Puros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, I'm excited. We've got Brian Bradley on the show. So Brian is a distinguished asset protection attorney. He's a financial planner. He's also a best-selling author. So we'll dive into a little bit about his book here in a while. He's a renowned educator in the legal and financial spheres. So he's passionately dedicated to fortifying clients against legal risks and empowering them to take charge of their financial well-being. He expertly deploys cutting-edge asset protection and financial planning strategies. So he leverages tools like the bridge trust for asset security and financial instruments such as life insurance and IULs for long-term wealth preservation. So we're excited to have Brian on the show today. He's going to dive in and help us keep more of our money and put it in the right places. So Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve, for having me on. It's going to be a fun episode. I think we're going to cover maybe a little bit of a lot of topics and start myth busting a lot of misconceptions. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and hopping on with me in the audience. Well, those of us that might not be familiar with kind of your backstory and who you are, how'd you get started into what you're doing right now and kind of the legal side of things, and what's your backstory?
For sure. So I ended up not thinking I was going to go to law school. Like I wanted to do something coming out of college. Like I was an injured athlete and wasn't sure what direction I wanted to take, but I've always been really competitive. And I actually wanted to go join the military, jump out of planes and blow things up. But my mom was, God, like you're really good with logic and arguing. Just apply to law school and just try it for 1 year. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go for 1 year. I'll try. Thought it was just at least a good tool in the toolbox. Wasn't really sure if I wanted to actually practice law, but it could lead somewhere, right? Went to law school and just loved it. It was pretty easy for me. And then started practicing law. And it was right when the economy, like 08, 09. tanked. And I started out in the DA's office, and then I was the youngest one there, got let go, had to go into civil practice. The economy just tanked. And one of the owners of the firm just came out to me. He's like, you're us during the Carter years. He says, go out on your own. You have great business skills, great instincts, and just do this on your own. Like not many people have that grit to be able to do it. And so I just took his advice when I got let go, because it's a family, firm, and just decided no matter how good you are, you're always expendable if you don't own it. So I just decided to bet on myself, and I've been practicing on my own ever since then. And then just like picking good affiliates and partners, and then got into the asset protection side of the things from being a trial lawyer. It's a very successful trial lawyer, but I just got tired of seeing all my clients come in after the fact being sued and preyed upon. And I started partnering up with the top asset protection attorneys in the nation and just learning from them and what worked and what didn't work and why. And I just realized asset protection was kind of where I was meant to be. It combined my passion with law, taxes, investing. It kind of was like the whole smorgasbord, everything I was really passionate about in one area. And then fast forward to today, besides asset protection, I realized I was kind of the point guard for my clients calling in. So I'd see their whole financial life, but I also had an insurance license and other financial licenses. And so I realized what the gaps were of their money, or like connections to people that I can reach out to them to. So then I added another aspect of my law firm, which is Bradley Financial Planning. And then utilizing more like insurance products and IULs to like fill in gaps where their money can accelerate, tax deferred, and a little bit safer for their other risky stuff they're doing.
No, that's awesome. I mean, there's a few different things that I'd love to kind of dive into. For one, I mean, the fact that you had some sage advice from the where you first started out, like they were encouraging you. I mean, a lot of times people, hey, you know what? No, I don't want to lose great talent. If they could recognize that in you and say, hey, like, I don't want to let you go, even though we're in a downturn in the market. We don't kind of know what's going on in the future. I hate to let anybody go, right? So awesome for you to be able to step out and venture out on your own. It's not a lot of move that a lot of people make.
Yeah. And I think it was because it wasn't with like a major law firm. It was 15, I think, attorney firm, family owned firm. So it was, that's my son, that's my daughter, that's my so-and-so, that's this. They're like, holidays are coming up. I don't want to have a horrible Thanksgiving and Christmas. And they're like, but like I was the only one in the firm closing cases and keeping the business running. And they're like, you got the magic kid and you know business. So they're like, just don't jump around from firm to firm because you're going to get used. It was just really sound advice. Like beat us, create the firm while the economy is kind of like going, south, and then ride it out. And so what I did was I worked for free for about 3 years, just picking up cases that like the state couldn't process through. And so I literally was doing cases. They covered the cost I just kept, grinding it out and ended up getting all this amazing trial skill because I just had the longer vision and sight for this. I'm like, I can grind it out and suffer right now because I don't have much to lose anyways. So let me grind it out now, build my reputation and name, and then I'll come out of this downtime actually up where everybody else never got experience and had to go work at Starbucks because they couldn't get their degrees working for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And even just what you said right there, just having that longer term vision really helps to guide you, direct you, kind of like what your next step is, right? Because a lot of people get pinched, especially entrepreneurs. It's like, well, how am I going to pay the bills, right? And so they're like, I need that immediate gratification versus, nope, if I plant these seeds now, I'm going to be reaping a harvest.
Thing that people, like if you're an entrepreneur, everyone wants to start an idea. I have an idea, but they don't realize the fear and panic a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners have is, I don't have a W-2 paycheck coming in bi-weekly. So like, if I'm not hustling and grinding, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. And that security is not there. So we're always grinding, but then it's so easy for people to fail on their business side of it because they don't grind like you have to for it. But then they stop working when they're about to turn the corner of their business. Like generally you're struggling, and you quit because you panic on like, oh my God, excrement. I don't know in 2 months how I'm going to pay the bills. They stop, go get another corporate job, and then their business is never picked back up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome too. And that's actually great advice for those of our listeners. Hey, if you guys are just getting started, Brian's laying it out for you. It's like, hey, also too, like you understood your risk tolerance at that point of your career, right? It's like, well, hey, look, I can take the risk now. I can take the big swings now, right? Like I don't have less to lose. I don't have a big reputation or anything like that. You don't have your own practice at that point, like that's well established and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, that's the time putting for the fences, right? Like fail forward, right? Like go out and make some action.
Yeah, never. If this is like business advice, I'd always want to fail forward. Just don't make the same mistake twice. Just learn from it and keep failing forward. Then eventually 3 years from now, it should pan out.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I actually always appreciate talking to people who have been through some different market cycles. We're kind of coming through one now, like you started back kind of GFC and whatnot. So you've kind of seen firsthand what it is to kind of go up and down. Like a lot of people jump in and they're like, oh, we're riding the roller coaster up and they think it's going to be like that way forever. And then we fall down and then they also think that that's going to be that way forever. And it's like, no, look, it's all cyclical. You have to, yeah.
I had the luxury, this is a weird thing to say, of starting my business in one of the worst economies. And so there wasn't much money coming in, but I was young enough to ride out the loss of it and just grind it out. But I had to figure out, I had to be very creative of like marketing, how to, get experience when no one wanted to hire you to get experience. So that's why I did a lot of free work or free marketing, free advertising. And then the economy picks up. Then it's like, okay, I got to be good with my dollars and cents because I know the market is going to go back down at some point. So I can't be spending money lavishly. And then how to budget. And like, there's a lot that goes into businesses that people don't start thinking about.
All right. All they see is the success. They see like, oh man, Brian's crushing it. He's making all this money. And like that people just get too caught up and too focused, especially now, right? With social media and all that. It's like, that's all you see, but you don't understand all of the struggles, all of the long days, all of the long nights, the free work.
All night, day and night, because it's your company. No one's going to care more than you. And so my wife has a normal W-2 job and then I'm working all day long because no one's going to care more about it than me. And I'm already planning for next Q2. And she's like, man, you're already talking about next year. And I'm not talking about next year. I'm talking about the second quarter of next year now because I had to plan Q1 about last quarter of this year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And a couple of things too. It sounds like you were identifying opportunities kind of as you went. You saw a need as you develop your skill sets, you're working kind of on the marketplace. Like, hey, I see a need in my clients. Like, wow, like, okay, like I'm seeing them go through the fire here. Like I'm defending them or seeing them through cases. And then you identified like, hey, they could use some help here on the asset protection side. Like they're getting burned. Hey, what can I do? Right. How can I provide value kind of through this? Right. So I love that you were able to kind of pick that up and,
that's how the financial side of it came through too, was like, I realized if I wanted to have a family and be present as a father, I couldn't just always be in court all day long. And I didn't want to be a statistic. And so I had to find a way, I found a need and I'm an investor myself. And it made me nervous because I was younger and I didn't have anything to invest in. But I'm like, man, I want to go down and invest in myself. And all these people are getting, preyed upon and taken advantage of. How do I protect myself from this? But then if I can solve my solution for myself, then there's a market for there. And then I can be helping other people be more proactive. And that's how the asset protection side of it came in. And then the same thing with the financial side, to where as we age and adult up, getting married and having kids, I'm like, man, I don't have any life insurance or term care riders. How am I going to get my kids a financial head start? So as I started learning that, I'm like, well, I can go get licensed and do all this stuff on my own. But then if I can do it on my own, I might as well create a secondary business and income off of it. And so it was just identifying needs and then selfishly looking at what I wanted to do and then realizing other people are in the same situation. So then I just started creating a business on the side around it. And then it ends up picking up.
Well, I love that. You said that it's like, yeah, it's selfishly, but it's just like, hey, if you're struggling with something, if you're identifying a need in yourself, like, hey, there's got to be other people who have this, that are in the similar situation, that need similar tools, similar resources. How can I be able to develop something that can provide a tool for them? Right. So then you lead into, hey, now I can take this holistic approach. I'm working with you on the legal side. I know that you have a need here on this financial side. Let's look at your whole picture. Right. Versus
and that was always my goal. And I didn't think I'd get there as soon as I did, because the goal is just like, all right, let's just do asset protection and high-end stuff like our hybrid trust and, that stuff. But I always wanted to do a holistic overall asset protection plus financial preservation and take the whole picture and then create a nice team and family environment for the clients where it's kind of like a one-stop. Come on in. All right, let's look at your whole picture. But like in business, I don't want to eat the whole burrito at one time. I had to build it slowly. Same thing with clients. Like, all right, you're a mess, like financially or protection wise, a mess. There's a lot to do, but we don't need to do it all at once. Let's just like start picking up the most important ones that we can start actually working on. And then over time, we'll have the system in the right direction.
Yeah, no, like I said, I love the holistic approach, right? Because again, you're not just addressing one pain point, which it's like, okay, well, that's great. I can solve that immediate problem. But I see like 10 others that I can help you build, I can help you develop, like we can work on this. And if you didn't have that kind of entrepreneurial bent, I think a lot of people get caught just working as a cog in the machine. They don't realize, hey, wow, why don't I help to develop a solution here and provide more value, right? Like that's kind of the whole premise.
Well, that's where I was really like Robert Kiyosaki, kind of like it redefined how I practice law and creating my law firm and my business to where I wasn't just practicing law. I needed to create a business and systems and operations that I can then replicate and build and train people on, because there's only so many of like Steve's or Brian's. Like we don't there's only so many hours in a day. And so eventually I tap out on how much I can make on my own. So I realized, no, I got to make a transition to a business owner. And then my whole life completely changed on like the firm side of it, finding and seeing opportunities and then being able to scale and grow.
Yeah, no. And that's the incredible opportunity that I feel like a lot of people miss out on, especially if they're just kind of, hey, I'm used to working a W-2. I've been doing that for the last 20 years. It's like, well, you're a part of the team, but what you don't understand is, yeah, when you step over to the entrepreneur side, like, hey, I can create opportunity for other people. There's a need. And just like you said, right? Like you're one guy, right? I'm one guy. Like there's only so much value I can individually bring to the marketplace. But once you start to involve other people, cool. Now I could create more value for more people, right? And you can provide opportunity for those people. Like this is the part I love about business, right? And too many people, they don't fully kind of grasp that. So I love that. I love that about the business side. Anytime I don't think I have enough time either, like I start thinking about Elon Musk, man. I mean, that guy's a
genius on bringing something to reality and how he manages his time. It's surreal.
Yeah. I don't care what you think about his politics. I don't care like any of the stuff, like all of the ancillary junk. Like if you just look at him from a pure entrepreneur's like mindset, man, that guy is an absolute rock star. And so it's like, okay, we have the same amount of hours in the day, right? Like how is he able to build these billion-dollar companies and accomplish so much? Okay, what's my excuse? Right. And so it's just a matter of looking in the mirror, changing the mindset, right?
Yep.
Work on that, reading the books, just like you mentioned about Kiyosaki. And a lot of times it's just those small, subtle tweaks, which I appreciate. Well, you mentioned being able to identify things, seeing that within your clients. We're at a different market cycle right now in the last couple of years now with this higher interest rate environment and whatnot. Like, what are you seeing from your client base? Like, what are you seeing as an active need at this point? Or is it still wealth preservation? Is it wealth building? Like, what's kind of the feedback that you're getting from your clients?
Yeah, most of mine went on hold for a while. And they just pulled money out of the market and just sat and wait. They started seeing like inflation going out of control, cost of living going out of control, very litigious society, a predatory system. And they're like, we just need to tap the brakes. And even my high-end net worth clients just kind of left the market. And we're on a holding pattern. And so now I'm seeing now, because it's an election season and coming close, we started getting more activity on the protection side. And then I think people are starting to skew where they think the elections might fall. So you're starting to see people starting coming back into the market, but slowly just hedging their bet. So I definitely see it leaning still more towards asset protection, because as you have money, money has to move at the end of the day. I don't care who's in office, like Democrat, Republicans, whatever. If you're going to make money, money has to be moving. And if money's moving, you're going to probably get sued at some point in time, or your visibility is going to be there. So we always have to keep protecting it. That's just the end of the day. And then at the same time is Father Time's endless, right? Like it's the one battle you're never going to win. And so then as people start getting older, or they're like 40s and 50s, they realize, oh my God, I just had to go through like my grandparents, like nursing home issue with my parents, or my parents are at that stage in life. Then the, light goes off in their head, like, oh my God, like I don't have anything in place for myself. So then they start adulting and getting the estate plans done and the long-term care riders and insurance, or they start realizing like, oh, I just had my first kid, but how are we going to pay for college? Or, like I got 2 daughters, their weddings and college, if I want to go down that route. So they start adding to the needs that they have. And that's where the financial planning side of it comes in, because there's certain stages of life just don't stop. And so I'm noticing it from the asset protection side of it for sure, and especially as money's starting to keep flowing. And then from the just adulting side of it, people are starting to, they were first afraid and hesitant of putting money into anything like insurance policies or anything, because I think a lot of people were like looking at the 3-month rule, right? Like if I can't pay my bills for the next 3 months, like I can't go out and invest or put it into insurance, because we got to make sure we can pay the mortgage. But as people are starting to soften up on the economy and feeling a little bit more confident that the election cycle is about to end, I'm starting to see like the phone call ring on the financial side as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I think you're 100% right. Like, I think people are kind of resigned to like, okay, we're getting pretty close here. It'll be a nice relief kind of to get past all this drama. I mean, for those of us in the markets and kind of making moves, it's like, all right, it's an exciting time because there's lots of volatility. But for most people like that, it's not a fun place to be.
And I love volatility. Yeah. And so that's what I thrive off of it from the personal investor side. But if you don't have the money to like hedge a couple losses, then you hit the panic button and then people freeze, And so that's where I saw for the like last year and the first 2 quarters of this year was just silence.
I'm sure. Yeah. And we've seen it too, like in just different segments of different businesses. It's like, I mean, the economy as a whole, right? And then everybody's just kind of been on this kind of like anticipation, like what's going to happen. And yeah, I think people are starting to kind of like, all right, I'm ready for this thing to be done.
They're already one way or to know who's there so they can know where to put their money and what to do. And that's the feel I'm getting from everybody is like, we just rip the Band-Aid off now. Let's just like know what we're going into for the next 4 years.
Yeah. 100%. And then you're right. Like I said, it doesn't matter like who ends up being in office. It's like, hey, life's going to go on. You're still going to have your own individual financial plan. You still have to have your financial house in order, whatever that looks like, right? From a asset protection standpoint, from an investment standpoint, like you still need to kind of, all right, well, hey, what's on the table now? What rules did they implement? What laws did they change? Whatever. Okay, cool. Let me navigate that and let's move forward. Like it's literally, it's not the end of the world. So
correct. So you're not going to just pull your money and move as much as people say, or you hear people complaining on YouTube. No, like at the end of the day, it's going to be like, all right, like you said, here's the new regulations. Here's this. Here's how we're going to solve this problem from an asset protection standpoint. Like let's create that's going to be pretty straightforward. Some LLCs, a management company, an asset protection trust, protected from like liability. And then from the investment side, it's just going to be tax mitigation strategies. I personally like to invest through like life insurance policies for cash value and use it because I like the tax deferred aspect of it and low risk. But everybody's going to have their own kind of framework for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to talk a little bit about I know you're an author, best-selling one at that. So give us a little bit of a backstory on your books and kind of what you're offering on kind of that end and what it covers.
Yeah. So my book is Overexposed and it's #1 bestseller and it's on asset protection, like how exposed are you? And the reason I wrote the book was I got a lot of clients that would be calling in and there's so much misinformation on the world of asset protection and what works and what you shouldn't do. And it generally would depend on not even like attorneys, but salesmen, like going on to like investment shows or summits and stuff like that and just like pushing a product without any legal background to it. And then people would get stuck in this analysis paralysis and their minds would be melted of like LLCs or jurisdictional shopping and Wyoming, Delaware, Nevada, trust. And like, they don't know what to do. And then they just freeze. And so I would get a lot of calls from them coming in like, okay, you're an attorney, like you're well known from all the like summits and stuff I talk on. They're like, can you just give us some solid legal advice? Because there's no book for us to read or no resource that covers the whole aspect of it. And so when I started researching, I'm like, right, you're right. Like there really is no horn book written on just asset protection strategies overall, from like the low level, like LLCs and insurance, all the way up to like the fully offshore Cook Islands trust, like the big guns. And then how do you grow and scale into it and layer it up? And so I'm like, well, if that's not there, like I'll just write it myself. And so I ended up doing that and it just caught fire, and it's an easy read. And I go through pros and cons of each layer, how you scale from like I'm entry greenhorn investor to like I have hundreds of millions worth of real estate all over the place. And how do we go from zero to there? And how do we layer it up as we grow? And I support it with a lot of case law and break down the cases in really easy formats, like I would on like normal shows that I would talk on. We go about that, but that's what the book was about and how I ended up writing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So don't be afraid to pick it up, guys, thinking it's just going to be a bunch of legal jargon.
Yeah, I don't talk like a normal lawyer, and I don't write like a normal one. I wrote it to where like my grandma who passed by, like my grandma would be able to read it. Because a lot of people, I just want you to actually get a good understanding of it and break these things down in like very common, easy to understand aspects, like we're having a couple beers at a camping trip or something like that. And that's how the book's language is written.
No, that's awesome. And I love that approach too, because like that, I think a lot of people can be fearful of attorneys, of lawyers, of legal, anything legal, right? It's just like, oh, I want to do that. And it's like, how awesome would it be to be able to have, yeah, I just want to have a beer with my attorney or somebody who can give me some legal guidance, because again, I don't think that that's most people's, when they envision anybody legal, you know, like that's not what they're thinking about, right? Like
about the legalese, big language that we don't understand, and arrogance versus dumb down your language and then just speak like a normal person, and you're going to end up actually communicating a lot better.
Yeah, there you go, guys. So Brian's on your side. Don't worry. Like you don't have to be afraid of the big bad wolf kind of deal from an attorney standpoint. Like he's here to help. Right on. Very cool. Well, this is the point of our show where we transition into a little bit what we call our fire round. Just a little bit more brief kind of Q&A, just a little bit more fun questions. And that's something you're up for?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right on. All right. So first question, what is your best book recommendation other than your own or Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I already got two Rich Dad Poor Dad in my list, but I'm going to go a different route. My other favorite book is The Alchemist.
Yes. Okay.
It's just a really easy, quick read. But if you're into just like self-growth, which I think everybody, especially if you're business owners and investing, you should always be constantly searching in on yourself. Like that's a great book. I read it at least once a year. I'm always finding and pulling out a new nugget.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, this is a good question. So how many books would you say you'd get through in like in a random year? Like it just average year?
I read like 3 or 4 books a month, I would say. Yeah. And so I can easily pound through about 15, 20 books a year. Like I read a lot, and then like I just have the ability to extrapolate a lot when I pull it out, but then I like to clip note things out so I remember them and have easy access to them. But I would say at least 20 books a year. And it's not just money or financial legal things. There's a lot of like personal development as well in different areas. Like I'm right now really into, right for like Hogan assessment stuff for leadership skill development, not for like anything for like my business, but I just like personality developments and social dynamics. So I've been reading a lot of books on like social dynamics.
No, that's awesome. And that's actually super powerful too, because hey, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with people, period. Like it's good to have an understanding and a grasp on different personality types. Not everybody's like you, right? Yeah. Like not everybody is like you. We think that, but that's not the case. So that's great. I'd just like to ask, and I think that's a fun question, where if you're not currently, for our listeners, right? If you're not currently, I'm not a reader, like I'm not, that's totally fine. Like there's so many tools out there now. Right? Like pick up audiobook. Yeah, absolutely. Audible, I mean, YouTube, I mean, there's so many resources out there. Like there's no excuse.
Utilize your time more efficient. Like when I work out, like I do jujitsu, I do dance, right? But when I'm working out at the gym or in my car, I listen to music rarely. Like I will listen to something, but then I generally put in like a podcast or an audio book or something, because I just have a very curious mind. So I'm always trying to learn something. So people are like, I don't have time to read something. Yeah, you do. You're driving from home to work. If you're at the gym, you can listen to something while you're pumping the weight and like doing the cardio. There's always time for something.
Yep. 100%. It's like I forget, he's one of the classic sales guys. You used to call it Automobile University, right? It's like, hey, if you've got a 30-minute commute, hour commute, couple hours like throughout your day. Like I'm like you, I don't listen. I very rarely will I listen to music. Not saying it's not cool. Like it's not saying it's not therapeutic or whatever, but man, I want to be learning. I want to be focused and my attention needs to go like what's going to help me to grow, help me to help others. So yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, 100% agree with that. All right. Next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
Yeah, jujitsu. Like I'm a real champion jujitsu practitioner. So like the ultimate superpower is jujitsu, like utilizing leverage and being able to control another person's body against their will when they don't want to. I mean, it's pretty fun.
That's a pretty practical superpower. Right. All right. Next question. What's the biggest lesson that you say that you've learned over your career thus far?
It kind of like goes to what we were talking about earlier, like failing forward, right? Like you think like creating a business or investing even or whatever is just always going to be constant successes. Like you got a long, long road ahead of you, man. It's going to be built off of your failures. And it's just each failure is a lesson and learn from it. And then you'll start making less and less errors. And then you'll be making more and more proper decisions. So it's like this massive learning curve, but most people after the first failure or second failure, they quit and stop. So I'd be like, just start doing it and fail sooner. Like, I think it was like an Arnold Schwarzenegger saying or something that I heard at one of his talks, like he loved failing, like fail sooner, fail faster, and then just don't make the same mistake twice. And you're just going to start learning and do at the end of the day, then applying what you learned.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, we're in recording a couple hundred episodes at this point, and like that is a reoccurring theme. It's like inevitably the most successful people are the ones that are not afraid to try for one, but they're also not afraid to fail. And then they learn from that mistake. Let's dissect whatever happened. All right, let's take that. We're not doing that again. We're doing more of that. Perfect. And let's take that forward.
It's like the military principle, right? Like improvise, modify, adapt, and overcome. And as long as you can live your business life and your life by that principle, you're going to end up on the positive end of it more often than not, because life is going to be about, and business about adapting and improvising and overcoming an obstacle. And then you make more money when you can then create a system around it and then teach it to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. If nothing else, hey, you help identify a pain point. Like maybe you can create a solution for that pain point in your own process.
Yeah.
Right. So like, there's so many different ways that you can take value from
and market that process to make more money off of the spin off of it.
No, 100%. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Last question. If you could go back in time, what advice would you have for your 20-year-old self?
My 20-year-old self, I'm very obviously I'm a driven person and very tenacious, but I would say I would need to learn to just as a 20-year-old, shut my mouth more and just learn, and listen, I was not so much arrogant, but just, I think I could never fail. And so I would try everything in the world, no matter what it was, which is great because that's where the tenacity came into. But then at the same time, I would run my mouth a lot and it would drive my instructors or bosses insane. And so my younger self, I would just say, keep the tenacity, but just shut the mouth a little bit more.
That's a good lesson. Well, right. If our audience wants to reach out to you, they want to connect with your firm or any of your products, where's the best place to send them? How could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can get a copy of the book on my website, www.btblegal.com. And it's also the firm's website is based on for asset protection and for financial planning as well. I use it for an educational resource. I do free consultations because I'd rather have people have a decent consultation. And then if we work together, great. If not, at least you got something decent that you can then go around. But the website, is just based around educational and a lot of media information and case law. And so I like to utilize it as a resource for people.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, make sure that you're going in and checking Brian out. You're hitting him up with your questions, or whether it be legal, whether it be asset protection, whether it be jujitsu, dancing, whatever, he's got you covered. So, Brian, I really appreciate you hopping on, taking time out of your day to provide value for us in the audience. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll have to catch up with you in the future.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Great conversation with Brian Bradley. Hey guys, if you guys are finding value in the show and the podcast, make sure that you're sharing the episode, that would leave us a 5-star review. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to be able to continue to bring more content. We can only do that if you're giving us the right feedback and helping us to grow the show better. Great show with Brian. Obviously got a ton of experience on the legal, the financial side, both financial planning, asset protection. He's learned over the years how to provide value to his clients, knowing that he was seeing different needs whenever he craft plans for them or helped them on whatever facet of their businesses that they were doing. Obviously, he put together his own best-selling book. So make sure that you're checking that out on Amazon as well, or you can go to his website. We'll leave all of the sites in the show notes. So make sure you're going out and supporting him. Guys, if you're here on Oahu, if you're in Hawaii, you want to pop over, we do a monthly meetup. We'd love to meet you in person, connect you with other like-minded investors and touch base and see where you're at. So you can find us on Honolulu Multifamily and more. You can find us at meetup.com, Bigger Pockets. We'd love to be able to connect with you in person. You can go also to our website, tricityequity.com, to learn more about different things that we've got going on, past projects on the multifamily side. Again, how to connect with us through the meetups and how you can reach out and connect with us. But guys, that's going to be it for this week's episode. We'd love to see you on the next one. Go out, take some action, fail forward, make some great things happen in your life or for others in your life. And we'll see you on the next one. Aloha.